My name is Elena Carter. I am 24 years old, and I live in a lively city where every street has its own story. On the surface, my life looks perfectly normal. I have a job as a graphic designer, a small circle of close friends, and a family that loves me. But deep down, I always felt there was something missing, a kind of love that novels talk about, the kind that takes your breath away and makes ordinary days feel extraordinary. I never thought my life would change with a single unexpected meeting, but that's exactly what happened. The story of how he proposed to me began on one simple Monday morning, when I was least prepared for anything romantic. It was raining that day. Not the heavy kind that ruins your shoes, but a soft drizzle that made the city glow under silver clouds. I rushed out of my apartment with my umbrella, coffee in hand, and my laptop bag hanging awkwardly on my shoulder. I was already late for work, and in my rush, I almost collided with a tall stranger near the cafe around the corner. "Whoa! Careful," he said, his voice calm but strong, as he steadied me before I could spill hot coffee all over myself. Embarrassed, I looked up, and that's when I saw him. Adrian Blake. Tall, sharp features, with dark brown eyes that looked like they could see straight through me, and a smile that was both polite and disarming. He wore a black coat, his hair slightly messy from the rain, and there was something effortlessly attractive about the way he carried himself. I'm so sorry," I stuttered, stepping back quickly. "No worries. Happens to the best of us," he said lightly. Then, noticing my umbrella struggling in the wind, he added, "Looks like yours is losing the fight. Want me to walk you to the cafe?" I hesitated for a second, then nodded. Something about him felt strangely comforting, like we were not complete strangers. Inside the cafe, I ordered my usual caramel latte, and he ordered black coffee. While waiting, he asked, "Do you always run around like the city's chasing you?" I laughed nervously. "Only on Mondays." That short exchange somehow turned into a 10-minute conversation. I learned that he had recently moved into the neighborhood and worked in finance. He seemed confident, intelligent, and easy to talk to, the kind of person who makes you forget about the time. When my order was ready, I waved goodbye, thinking it was just a one-time encounter. But as fate would have it, Adrian wasn't just a stranger passing by. The next morning, I saw him again. Same cafe, same time. This time, he smiled knowingly. "You again? Should I start calling this fate?" I rolled my eyes playfully. Or maybe just coincidence. But from that day on, our paths kept crossing. At first, I thought it was purely accidental, but soon it became clear that Adrian enjoyed these little meetings as much as I did. Days turned into weeks, and our conversations grew deeper. We talked about everything: books, movies, our childhood memories, our fears, and our dreams. He told me about his love for traveling, how he wanted to see the world beyond spreadsheets and office walls. I told him about my passion for art, and how I sometimes felt lost in the chaos of deadlines. Somewhere along the way, I realized I was looking forward to mornings just to see him. The cafe became our place, even though we had never admitted it out loud. One evening, after weeks of morning coffee rituals, Adrian surprised me. He texted me for the first time. "Would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow? Not at the cafe, somewhere nicer?" My heart raced as I read the message. We had grown close, but this was different. This was a step forward. The next night, I met him at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the glittering city skyline. The air was cool, the lights sparkling below us, and soft music played in the background. Adrian looked effortlessly handsome in a navy blue shirt, his sleeves rolled up, revealing a simple watch on his wrist. "You look beautiful," he said as soon as I arrived, his eyes holding mine a little longer than usual. I felt my cheeks flush. "Thank you." Dinner was magical. We laughed, shared stories, and for the first time, I noticed how his gaze lingered on me, how he seemed to memorize every word I said. I couldn't deny it anymore, I was falling for him. At the end of the night, as he walked me back to my apartment, he said softly, "Elena, I really enjoy being with you. More than I expected, honestly." I smiled nervously, not sure how to respond. But inside, my heart was screaming, "Me too. More than you'll ever know." From that night on, things between us shifted. We weren't just casual acquaintances who met for coffee anymore. We started going out more often, weekend brunches, evening walks, late-night phone calls that stretched past midnight. Adrian wasn't just handsome, he was kind, thoughtful, and attentive. He remembered little details about me, like how I hated olives on pizza, or how I always carried a sketchbook in my bag. He encouraged me to chase my passion for painting and even bought me a beautiful set of brushes on my birthday. But as perfect as everything seemed, I couldn't help but wonder, was this friendship, or was it turning into something more? There were moments when his hand brushed against mine, when his gaze lingered too long, when his compliments carried a warmth that went deeper than casual. Yet he never said anything that confirmed it. And I was too afraid to ask. One rainy night, everything changed. We were sitting in his car, parked outside my apartment after a late dinner. The rain tapped softly against the windows, and the air inside was filled with unspoken tension. "Elena," Adrian began, his voice lower than usual, "can I ask you something?" My heart skipped. "Of course. Do you believe in timing, like how sometimes people meet when they're not looking, and it ends up meaning everything?" I turned to him, meeting his intense gaze. "Yes. I do." For a moment, it felt like he was about to say something more. His hand moved slightly, as if he wanted to reach for mine. But then he hesitated, sighed, and said, "Never mind. I'll tell you another time." I smiled faintly, but deep inside, I felt the storm of emotions he was holding back. Little did I know, that another time was coming sooner than I thought. Because Adrian wasn't just passing time with me. He was falling, just as hard as I was. And soon, he would prove it. The days after that rainy night felt different. Something had shifted between us, an invisible line we hadn't yet crossed, but we both felt it hanging in the air. Adrian began to show up more often, not just for coffee or dinner. He would stop by my office during lunch breaks, sometimes just to bring me a sandwich or my favorite latte. On weekends, he dragged me out of my comfort zone, hiking trips, spontaneous drives to nearby towns, even late-night walks under the stars when the city was quiet. Every time, I felt my heart sink deeper into something I was no longer able to deny. I was in love with him. But there was still uncertainty. He had never said the words. He had never confessed. One evening, as we sat on a bench in the city park, the soft glow of lampposts surrounding us, I finally gathered the courage to tease him. "You know," I said, nibbling on a bag of chips, "people might start assuming things about us." He raised a brow, smirking. "What kind of things?" "That we're more than friends." For a split second, his eyes softened, and I saw something vulnerable in them. But then he chuckled, leaning back. "Well, let them assume." I stared at him, half annoyed, half confused. What did that even mean? The confusion grew heavier when one of his female colleagues appeared in the picture. Her name was Sophia, a stunning woman with sharp features and effortless charm. Adrian introduced her to me casually at a cafe one morning, saying she worked with him. She smiled too brightly, laughed too easily at his jokes, and touched his arm a little too often. I tried to hide my discomfort, but inside, jealousy gnawed at me. For the first time, I wondered if maybe I was just imagining everything. Maybe Adrian didn't see me the way I saw him. That night, I cried silently into my pillow, torn between my feelings and my fear of losing him. But then, the very next day, he called me. "Elena, can we meet tonight?" His voice was serious, almost urgent. My heart raced. "Sure. Where?" "Come to the cafe. 8 o'clock. When I arrived, Adrian was already there, waiting at our usual table. He looked restless, his fingers tapping against his coffee cup. As soon as I sat down, he leaned forward. "I need to clear something." "About Sophia?" I blinked, surprised. "She's just a colleague. Nothing more." "Whatever you were thinking, don't. Because when I'm with you, Elena, I don't see anyone else." His words hit me like lightning. My breath caught, and I stared at him, speechless. For a moment, silence stretched between us, filled only by the sound of the coffee machine in the background. Then, softly, I asked, "So, what are we, Adrian?" He exhaled deeply, running a hand through his hair. "We're something I can't stay quiet about much longer. Just give me time. I promise, you'll have your answer soon." After that night, things between us became even more intense. We weren't officially together, but we weren't just friends either. He started holding my hand more often, sending me good-night texts, surprising me with little gestures that made my heart melt. It felt like we were dancing on the edge of something beautiful, something permanent. And then came the night that changed everything. It was my birthday. I hadn't planned anything big, just dinner with a couple of friends. But Adrian insisted on picking me up. When he arrived, he was holding a single red rose. "Happy birthday, Elena," he said softly, handing it to me. The night went smoothly, laughter, cake, gifts. But the real surprise came after, when Adrian asked me to take a short drive with him. "Where are we going?" I asked as the car moved through quiet streets. "You'll see." He drove us to a hilltop overlooking the city. The view was breathtaking. The skyline glittered under the night sky, the stars shimmering above us. And there, waiting on the grass, was a small picnic set up with fairy lights, candles, and a blanket. I gasped. Adrian, did you do all this? He smiled, a little shyly. I wanted tonight to be special. Because you're special. As we sat there under the stars, he handed me a small sketchbook. Inside, I found pages filled with my drawings, the ones I had shown him casually, ones he must have copied or photographed secretly, turned into a beautiful collection. My eyes welled up. You kept all this? I kept everything, he said softly. Because everything about you matters to me. In that moment, the world seemed to pause. His eyes locked with mine, and I felt it, the love he had been holding back. And then, he finally said it. Elena, I've been falling for you since the first day I met you. Every coffee, every laugh, every look, it only made me surer. I don't want to wait any longer. My heart stopped. He stood up, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small velvet box. Kneeling before me, with the glittering city as our witness, he opened it to reveal a delicate diamond ring. Elena Carter, he said, his voice steady but full of emotion, will you marry me? Tears blurred my vision as I covered my mouth in shock. The man I had dreamed about, the man who had become my everything, was right there, asking me the question every girl dreams to hear. Yes, I whispered, my voice trembling. Yes, Adrian. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger, and in that moment, the world disappeared. It was just us two souls who had found each other in the chaos of life. He pulled me into his arms, kissed me under the starlit sky, and for the first time, I felt complete. From that night onward, everything changed. We were no longer dancing around our feelings. We were together, officially, beautifully, fearlessly. Life wasn't perfect, of course. There were challenges, disagreements, and long days at work. But through it all, one truth remained unshakable: we loved each other deeply, truly, endlessly. And every time I looked at the ring on my finger, I remembered that rainy morning, that first coffee, and the magical journey that led us here. The story of us, the story of how he proposed to me, will always be my favorite chapter. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.